This is a presentation on how to go through the process of selecting a vendor when looking for an electronic health record system. In the ideal situation, everyone who is going to be involved in using and dealing with the EHR needs to be involved in this selection process. This includes every department, ranging from the on-the-floor nursing staff to the corporate finance department. This procedure, labeled the Integrative Group Process, or IGP, is used to construct a numerical rating of different vendors. It helps with informing and encouraging the participation of the essential health facility staff in the vendor selection decision. It preserves the decision maker's preferences over a large number of criteria, making the final decision show the group's compilation of individual thoughts. The process. Step 1. Involve everyone who is going to have an impact in this decision of which vendor to select. Make sure the right people are chosen and each area is represented. Step 2. One-on-one interviews. The analyst explains the group's task and then gets a general feel for what issues are important to that specific staff member regarding an EHR. It is the analyst's job to fish out the distinct details as to what criteria are important and describe them as specific as possible. The analyst then asks the participant to score the relative importance of the different criteria and rank them in a hierarchical fashion. Once ranked, the participant needs to create levels with different weights, including selecting the best and worst levels for each attribute, and even intermediate levels should be established now. These weights then need to be standardized. Step 3. Group meeting. Here's where the analyst presents a new straw model to all participants, representing a collection of the attributes and weights each staff member selected. The group then discusses what changes need to be made and why. Step 4. Create a scoring procedure. According to the changes made in the group meeting, the analyst fixes the straw model and produces a finished product. Step 5. Presentation of final product. The purpose of participatory vendor selection is to help the organization arrive at a course of action through consensus. Step 6. Measure performance. This shows the evaluation of each vendor according to the established attributes. This is usually found through expert ratings, standard cases, objective measures, and more. The analyst then scores the performance of the specific vendors according to the levels finalized in the group meeting. Step 7. Select vendor. The selection is then made of the vendor with the highest overall score. Step 8. Documentation, and then Step 9. Report findings. This table shows the result of two different participants who both represent a significant role in interacting with the EHR. The table explicitly states the 4 attributes that the two different participants declare were the most important when looking for an EHR to implement. The 4 attributes are: ease of use. This represents just how easy it is going to be for all physicians, nurses, and other healthcare professionals to actually use the software and implement it into their everyday processes. Cost. Since the implementation of an EHR is a large expense to any company, it is important to keep the total amount spent for its implementation and service to a minimum. Confidentiality. With HIPAA regulations, confidentiality is a major concern when it comes to gaining patients' trust. Reputation. When it comes to a healthcare facility, no one wants to be first. When implementing a new program, the senior level management wants to know that that same software has been implemented in another healthcare facility that closely resembles their own. Next, levels were then created. For example, participant 1 felt that for ease of use, the average time to enter a new patient would take 1 minute for a very good system, 2 minutes for an average system, and 4 minutes for a poor system. For cost, $10 million is a cheap price for the cost of implementation of an EHR, $40 million is an average price, and $70 million is an expensive price. For confidentiality, a company with a 75% guarantee for confidentiality is not the most secure, a company with a 90% guarantee for confidentiality is average, and a company with a 99% guarantee for confidentiality is the best security. For reputation, participant number 1 felt that if a vendor was recommended by previous users 5 out of 10 times they had a low reputation, 7 out of 10 times they had an average reputation, and 9 out of 10 times they had a high reputation. The same steps were then taken with participant number 2. The stakeholders then provide a rating for each attribute. This represented with sub-attribute they felt was the best option for that attribute and which was the worst. For example, participant 1 felt that the best time frame for adding a new patient into the EHR system is 1 minute. Therefore, that sub-attribute received a rating of 100 out of 100. On the other hand, they felt that 3 minutes was the worst possible time frame. Therefore, that sub-attribute received a rating of 0. The results are seen in the table above. Next is the weight. The weight each attribute received from the different participants was determined by giving their least favorite attribute a score of 10. Then they were asked to rate the other attributes according to how more important they felt the attribute was relative to their least important one. After all this data was collected, the ratings were standardized per participant by adding all the rating numbers together, then dividing each single rating for an individual attribute by the total number. This resulted in the weight of that specific attribute. Once all the individual weights are determined and analyzed, it is time for a group meeting to be held. The group meeting takes place in order for all participants to come together with a consensus on the important attributes and their levels and ratings. The result of the group meeting is shown in the table above. The consensus was found by taking the averages of differences and similarities among the participants' initial ratings. After the final consensus is decided among the group, the healthcare facility then turns to look at the different vendors it has to choose from. Here represented as Vendor A, Vendor B, and Vendor C, the three vendors all specialize in different aspects and have different strengths and weaknesses. Research is then done to find out the level each vendor's EHR runs at. In this case, Vendor A can add a new patient into their system at an average time of 1 minute. It costs $48 million for installation and information service help, provides a 75% level for confidentiality, and is recommended from 6 out of 10 past users. Vendor B can add a new patient into their system at an average time of 3 minutes. It costs $10 million for installation and information service help, provides a 90% level for confidentiality, and is recommended from 7 out of 10 past users. Vendor C can add a new patient into their system at an average time of 2 minutes. It costs $33 million for installation and information service help, provides a 95% level for confidentiality, and is recommended from 6 out of 10 past users. Once this information is gathered, the rating level can then be determined for each attribute. To find this information, the analyst uses the table from the previous slide that was compiled at the end of the group meeting. This previously determined base levels of the 4 attributes are then compared to the actual levels of the different vendors found in the research. These comparisons can then determine the rating levels. To find the total rating of a vendor, each attribute's ratings are multiplied by that specific attribute's weight. This is done for all 4 attributes, then those numbers are added together to get a final total. The higher the final total, the better the choice is. The final totals are shown here in yellow. According to all this information, Vendor A is the best option for this particular healthcare facility to choose, since their score of 68.55 is higher than both Vendor B's 33.1 and Vendor C's 50.85. This process shows how to compute value in selecting a vendor. When a healthcare facility is looking to add the services from one vendor or another, this process is a way to include the input from everyone and allow that facility to choose a product that works best for them. The optimal way for this to occur is for an organization to review different vendor options with the largest amount of applicable information. This is important when millions of dollars are going to need to be spent on the implementation and service of a new system. When all the attributes are quantified, Vendor A turns out to be the best option for this particular healthcare facility. Quantification. This allows for subjective thoughts to be expressed in numerical figures. It can help quantify the purchase of an EHR from a specific vendor to senior level management as well as the rest of the organization. Interviews. The value on conducting interviews before the meetings allows for individuals' input to be included in determining the specific attributes that are chosen to be focused on without the influence from others. It is imperative that once information is gathered from individuals, that an organization goes through the consensus development process to select a vendor that best fits that particular facility.